Hey guys, Ryan from Fatboy Bikes. Today we're going to do a tyre and tube replacement on this Fatboy Scrambler. So I'm just going to run you through a bit of a step-by-step process how to do that. It's a little bit involved, but we'll break it down for you. You'll be able to nail it, I'm sure. First of all, we're going to gear up to our highest gear here. This will make it easy to get the rear wheel off when we flip this bike over. Now what we're going to do, we're going to flip this bike over. It's the easiest way to work on them. I pulled out some rubber pads today and a couple of foam blocks from the packaging of this bike. If you don't have this set up, use the grass, use a blanket, use a towel. You can roll up some towels or use something soft here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to flip the bike over and the handlebars are going to sit on these blocks. And what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and keep the controls, the screen and the gear selector here off the ground so it's not damaging them and sitting hard on the ground. So easiest way to get this bike over, chuck the stand up, just wheel it forward a bit, grab both brakes, stand her up like this. Now I like to just walk it forward a bit to try to get it where I want it, something like that. Okay, now come forward here, hold these forks and drop it onto these foam blocks, which is pretty straightforward. Once we got the bike upside down like that, we can rip into doing the front and rear wheels. Now we've got the bike flipped over. I'm going to show you what we need here to start doing the back wheel. So basically, I'm going to use a spanner or a socket or a wrench here. It's 21 millimeters there for the back wheel nuts. I'm going to need an Allen key, which comes in the toolkit to undo a couple of spaces there. We're going to need a couple of replacement cable ties because we've got to undo and disconnect the motor at the back, and we need to make sure that that motor cable is then re-secured in the right spot. So when we put it back on, it doesn't rub or grind against any of the wheel or anything like that. We're also going to need something to clip off the existing cable ties. Pretty straightforward. Don't think that I'm overcomplicating it. Once you see it, it's pretty self-explanatory. Here we go, let's rip in. So first of all, I'm going to start undoing the motor cable. So I'm going to clip these cable ties that secure the motor cable. Now we want to make sure we don't damage the frame here as we're doing this. And the last one, be super careful we don't cut through the motor cable as we're doing this. So as you can see now, I've exposed this cable. There's a connection here. So if we undo this join in the cable, that then disconnects the motor plug from the back and it is now free and out of the way there. So if you take a photo of that before you do it, so then when you're putting it back together, you know exactly where to locate your cable ties, secure them to your frame so you don't damage anything later on. So now we're going to move to the back. We're going to start undoing the wheel nuts and a couple of the locating bolts there. We're going to be super systematical, that's the right word, systematical, and we're going to put the nuts and bolts left and right side. And we're just going to keep everything in a nice order. So when we go to put everything back on, it's nice and easy for us to line everything back up. All right, now we're going to take this back wheel off and start, as I said, systematically trying to put parts down in the right spot. So first of all, there's some wheel nut covers. We're going to take them off left and right side. We're now going to take our 21 mil, whether it's a spanner, socket, whatever. We're going to take off the wheel nuts. So I'm going to back once again, like I said, chuck them on either side. All right, now that you've got your wheel nuts off, we're gonna take off our washers, which are a safety washer held in with a little hex head bolt. So I'll start on this side here. There, we're gonna keep that. And this washer is going to come off. Obviously now this side, so we wanna take out this bolt. All right, now that that's off, we're going to lift the wheel out. We have our derailleur here that can spring back and forward. Hold the derailleur back. Use your other hand, lift the wheel straight up. Clear the chain there, and the wheel will come straight out the top, like so. Now when that comes out, note that there's a couple of spaces on these wheel axles. One there. Note the way they come off and which way they're facing. One on this side, that's wheel off, tube ready to be changed. All right, rear wheel's off. Now we're going to change this tube. So here's the wheel. We obviously need to get the tyre off the rim. So pretty straightforward with these. You can just get your fingers under them, just pop it off. Just give it a bit of a yank. Sometimes it will come easy. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of massaging there. So there it is, tyre off. Now, we want to get our valve cap here. Take our valve cap off. Just this little bit, put it on the ground. So I like to push out the valve like that. Remove the tube. Tube out, ready for the new one. So once you get your replacement tube, which will look like this one again because there's nothing wrong with it, we'll go back in. So put this in first, get this little bit lined up here. Make sure you get that in through the hole there. Now, good thing to stop that falling out, put the little cap back on so it doesn't fall out. And then we just thread that tube back around into here. All right, and then we're gonna go and push the tube back on. So we're gonna give this a little push all the way around. All right, that's on, ready to go. So now we're ready to drop this wheel back on. So I like to flip it around, obviously have the brakes lined up. Now, once I get it to where I want it, remember the way you took this apart, whether you write it down, photograph it, however, use this video. Spacers back on, make sure the way these came off, the little notch out is facing out. Same on this side. Now, when I drop this on, two things to line up. I've got to get the chain into a rough position, and the main thing is I've got to drop the disc back into the brakes. So that's the main thing I want to use to line up. So I'm going to pick it up. This axle is squared off, so it can only fit in the frame one way. So we're going to go in like this. Now, I'm going to drop it into here. I'm going to lift up the derailleur, get this into position, and I'm going to then, once that's kind of where I need it, I'm going to watch this side and watch the disc drop into position. Give it a little jiggle. Make sure we're in between those brake pads, and that's it. So you can see around here, our spacers have locked that axle back into the frame on either side. Now that your rear wheel is back on, we're going to systematically put everything back together. Washers, wheel nuts, the wheel nut caps. We're then going to re-cable tie that motor cable and join it back together. Make sure that it's nice and tight, the connection of the motor cable. Now, obviously, if you've taken those photos at the start that I suggested, you'll be able to sort of exactly see where these things need to be. It's as easy as that. Any problems, hit us up, give us a call. Yo! All right, crew, we just pumped up the back tire. I'm gonna show you how to get the front wheel off in case you need to repeat that process for a flat or a tire replacement. Super easy, the front one. It's just 2 wheel nuts, 15 mil. So basically you wanna loosen these off, loosen this side off, kind of giving them a bit of a pre-loosen already, back them off. So you don't have to take those nuts right off. You can just loosen them. There's a couple of washers in here, pull them back a tad, and basically front wheel straight off, that easy. Same thing, putting it back on. Make sure we line the disc back up with the brake pads, slide it back in. Make sure these washers are pulled back to the nut, line her up, drop her in, tighten your bolts, your nuts back up, sorry. Obviously then get a really nice bit of tension on them. We don't want your front wheel falling off as you're riding. Job done. We're gonna flip this thing back over, take it for a quick wrap up and down the street, make sure my front wheel doesn't fall off, and we're sweet. So, grab your forks, give it a lift, spin it over. Once you get to this point, grab your brakes again, lock them in, and you can just let this bike cruise back to where you want. Stand back down, job done. Yoo!